The week my sports car, which I'd waited 6 months for, was finally delivered, my wife, Victoria, snatched the keys from me. "Eth loves sports cars. Let him take yours for a spin." I refused, knowing that my wife's sworn brother, Ethan Miller, didn't have a driver's license. But she gave him the keys behind my back. When I saw the car again, its front was stained with blood. Victoria Bellwether grabbed Ethan, a sorrowful look on her face, but her words made my jaw drop. "Husband, please, just take the fall for Eth. With your background, no one will give you a hard time." I flatly refused, but Victoria pulled out her phone. "I've already reported it to the police in your name. Just endure it for a little while. You'll be fine." Seeing the call log with the police on her screen, I was dumbfounded. "I should endure it? Victoria, do you have any idea how illegal that is? It means prison time." I stared in astonishment for a long moment before yelling the question. Victoria, seemingly not expecting such a furious reaction, burst into tears and choked out her words. But if you don't confess, what will happen to Eth?" "Husband, I'm begging you, they won't make things difficult for you, Big C. Please, if I go to jail, my life is over." Ethan Miller dropped to his knees, his face pale, and repeatedly bowed his head, begging me. I was furious, pointing at the two of them, speechless for a moment. "You two took the car without permission, and now you want me to take the blame? Let me tell you, I will not agree to this. The fingerprints and the dashcam footage won't frame me." Victoria fell silent for a moment, then bit her lip and said, "The fingerprints on the car have all been wiped clean. Eth was wearing a mask and your jacket when he drove your car. He dressed that way to avoid being recognized by the butler when he drove out of the garage." "You just drove my car out of my house like that?" "You're lucky I'm not making you pay for the car, and you still want me to confess. In your dreams I couldn't help but laugh in anger. If this was just about test driving a sports car at first, it now seemed like everything had been meticulously planned, with all contingencies covered. Sincere Clark, how can you talk like that? I'm trying to discuss this with you. Look at your attitude." Seeing my reaction, Victoria started to get angry too. I took a deep breath, about to curse, but was interrupted by Ethan. "Stop fighting, Big C, Vicky. I know I've caused too much trouble. I'll go turn myself in now. Don't fight because of me." Seeing our argument escalating, Ethan stood up after a moment of silence, a guilty expression on his face, and started to walk out. "Eth, where are you going? It's no big deal for Sincere Clark to take the fall. His family can pull a few strings and get him out easily. If you go to prison, who will look after you? What if you're locked up for life? Your whole life will be ruined." Victoria exploded at his words, rushing forward to grab his hand, all while shooting a meaningful look at me. "If he doesn't take the fall this time, then I see our marriage is worth nothing. We might as well sign the papers and get a divorce, Victoria. Are you threatening me with divorce?" I looked at her in disbelief, a wave of sadness washing over me. Then I saw a flash of triumph in Ethan's eyes, and my rage became uncontrollable. What the hell is that look supposed to mean? I couldn't hold back any longer. I lunged forward, grabbed Ethan by the collar, and threw a punch. Not expecting my sudden move, Ethan cried out in pain, clutching his face. "Big C, stop hitting me, freeze, nobody move, police," as I pinned Ethan to the ground and beat him. Victoria screamed, trying to intervene several times, but was scared off by the look in my eyes. Just then, the police arrived and immediately restrained me. "Mr. Clark, you are currently a suspect in a hit and run. Please come with us to the station for questioning." I struggled as they held me on the ground. "It wasn't me. I wasn't driving the car. It was Ethan Miller. He stole my car. We will need to investigate further to determine whether you were driving the car. Or not now. Come with us no matter what I said." They wouldn't listen, because at that moment all the evidence pointed to me as the prime suspect. Victoria and Ethan then transformed into paragons of righteous indignation. My wife pointed at me, her voice firm. "Officer, it was him. He hit someone and then fled the scene. Yes, I saw it too. He was just beating me up, trying to use my poverty to intimidate me into taking the blame for him. Please, officer, you have to help me." Ethan chimed in, turning the tables on me. In the end, I was dragged away, struggling. From behind me, Ethan called out with feigned concern. "Big C, be good in there. I'll take good care of Vicky for you. We'll wait for you to come back." I looked back at them, my eyes burning with rage, a storm brewing in my heart. "I will make you both pay, Mr. Clark. Please tell us again, where were you when the accident occurred?" Sitting in the interrogation room, my hands in cuffs, I heard the question and rubbed my temples fiercely. "I told you I was in the basement of my villa watching a movie. I didn't drive that car at all, but there are no security cameras in your villa's basement. Who can prove you weren't driving that car?" Facing the police interrogation, I sighed deeply, filled with regret. If I had known it would come to this, I never would have let Victoria have her so-called sworn brother. I met Victoria in college. Back then, she was a simple girl from the mountains who couldn't even afford her tuition fees each year. I couldn't stand by and watch, so I helped her out. That's when our relationship began, with her pursuing me. My parents initially disapproved of us being together, let alone getting married. They felt the gap in our social status and family background was too vast and suspected Victoria might have ulterior motives for getting close to me. I overcame all obstacles, and after a long courtship, Victoria and I were finally married. Seeing this, my parents could only let me be. I had been with Victoria for 7 years of dating and 5 years of marriage, and our life had always been happy. But everything changed 2 years ago when she brought Ethan, this sworn brother, into our lives. She suddenly proposed one day, saying that many people still couldn't afford college and that she wanted to sponsor a student. I thought she was remembering how I had helped her and wanted to pay the kindness forward, so I agreed. I should have sensed something was wrong from the moment Ethan first came to our house, with his handsome, sharp features. I trusted Victoria too much. Ethan used his status as a poor student to get close. By the time I realized something was amiss, it was too late. But Victoria was very cautious in this regard. Although I was suspicious, I never had any concrete evidence of her cheating with Ethan, and I loved her deeply, so I let it go several times. A hidden part of me hoped that Victoria would never change, but a person's heart can truly change in an instant. I never expected Victoria to ask me to take the fall for Ethan, or to so blatantly favor and protect him. Thinking of this, I sighed deeply. "Mr. Clark, let's go over the events one more time." The voice brought me back to my senses, and I began to recount the story again. I had already told the whole story over and over, and the police had asked me about it several times in a jumbled order. It was part of the interrogation process. Even though I was incredibly impatient and frustrated, I tried my best to cooperate. But even though I told the truth, there was no solid evidence to support my claims. Helpless, I had no choice but to call my father. I hadn't called my dad in years, ever since I moved out after getting married. He had clearly heard about the incident, and as soon as he picked up the phone, he laid into me. "Now you know to call me. Where were you before? Didn't I tell you that Victoria Bellwether was no good? You should have found someone from a family like ours. Now look, you're in trouble, and Dad has to clean up your mess." Yes, Dad, you're right. I was wrong." I repeatedly admitted my mistake in a low voice. After venting his anger, my father took a deep breath and spoke concisely about my situation at the police station. "The lawyer I've arranged for you is on his way. And leave the police station." Who knew that the moment I stepped out the door, an egg would be thrown at my face, instantly covering me in a foul, fishy smell, accompanied by a chorus of curses. "You have the nerve to come out? Have you no shame? Think you're so great because you're rich? He's out. He's out, that's him, right? Sincere Clark, the heir to the Clark Corporation." I slowly wiped the gunk off my face, frowning and fighting the urge to vomit as I looked at the angry crowd surrounding me. "You still have the nerve to show your face. How did you get out? Who did you bribe? A rich kid's life is different from an ordinary person's. Who wears an 87,000 watch to a police station? You have to give us an explanation. Why doesn't he have to be detained?" The group of people got closer as they spoke, demanding an explanation, attacking everything from my hairstyle to my clothes, saying I didn't look like a good person. I was stunned by the barrage of questions and insults, unable to react for a moment. Then, as if remembering something, I pulled out my phone, which had been confiscated by the police. I opened the social media app and, sure enough, saw that the incident had become the #1 trending topic in the city. Rich air hits pedestrian, flees the scene. I was shocked and angry. Before I could deny anything, the crowd surged closer. The officials stood by idly, as if they saw nothing. It was clear everyone saw me as a spoiled brat who thought he could get away with a hit and run. With the economy in a downturn, the resentment towards the rich was palpable. I didn't hit anyone. Why are you throwing things at me? Stay back. It really wasn't me. Do you have any proof it was me? You're threatening my safety here, I shouted at the crowd, trying to confront them and clear my name. The next moment, a car pulled up behind me, and a familiar voice called out, "Sir, get in the car." Quickly, I turned and saw the butler, Alfred's, eyes. A sense of relief washed over me. I knew my father had sent him to pick me up. Once I was safely inside the car, I finally had time to look at the news on my phone. What I saw made my blood boil. Yes, I'm very sorry for taking up public resources, but my husband's actions were truly unforgivable. I am deeply sorry. In the video, Victoria, her eyes red and swollen, was tearfully confessing and repenting on my behalf. This had directly led everyone to believe I was the one who hit the person. The authorities will definitely give a statement on this matter. Please remain calm. We will take responsibility for this. Victoria promised tearfully in the video, looking incredibly wronged and pitiful, a stark contrast to her expression when she accused me. I watched her performance coldly and spoke to the butler in the passenger seat. "Alfred, don't take me to my parents' place. Let's go back to my house first." "But Mr. Clark asked you to first." Alfred hesitated, but ultimately did as I asked. "You can wait for me at the door." I knew they were both probably in the villa, so I didn't have Alfred follow me in. I opened the door and went straight upstairs. Alfred seemed to want to say something but held back, probably knowing who was inside the villa. He just sighed and let me go. Before I even got close, I heard Victoria's laughter coming from the living room. "So when do you think you'll actually be back?" "I don't know, Vicky, but it should be soon, right? Didn't you say the Clark family's influence in this city is pretty much unrivaled?" Ethan responded, and Victoria laughed again for a while. "It would be best if he just doesn't what?" I strode forward, interrupting them. Seeing them sitting so close on the sofa, I sneered. Victoria and Ethan were completely shocked, their expressions frozen on their faces. It took them a moment to feign surprise and quickly pull apart. "Sincere, you're back. Did you sort it out that quickly? The Clark Corporation's power is no joke." I watched them act, my anger boiling over. I walked up and without hesitation slapped Victoria across the face, shouting angrily, "Who wouldn't be back? Victoria, were you hoping I'd spend the rest of my life in prison, Big C? Why did you suddenly hit her seeing this?" Ethan immediately tried to rush over. After slapping Victoria down, I threw a punch at Ethan. "Get out. Who the hell do you think you are? You have the nerve to live in my house? Get the hell out." I had hit Ethan twice, and his nose was bleeding. I had trained in Muay Thai, and I didn't hold back much with those 2 punches. Even though I avoided vital spots, it was enough to make him suffer. He cried out in pain, trying to struggle, but the difference in our strength was too great. He was forced to take the beating. I grabbed him by the collar, threw him to the floor, and clenched my fist to hit him again. "Sincere Clark, are you insane?" Victoria, clutching her face, came to her senses and rushed forward, pulling me away with all her might, screaming that I was crazy. I turned and yelled at her, "I'm insane? Victoria, you're the one who's truly sick. It wasn't me who did it, so why did you post that video clarifying things? You'd go this far for Ethan Miller. Aren't we husband and wife? You were just hoping I'd go to jail so you two could run off together, weren't you?" As I spoke, I pulled out my phone and showed her the trending video. Victoria froze, her face suddenly looking unnatural. I was just trying to clear Ethan's name. There were a lot of people online saying the whole thing was strange. I was afraid. They would track it back to Ethan, so I had to resort to this, she explained defensively. Then her tone shifted to one of complaint. Besides, you're fine you got out, didn't you? Why are you making such a big scene? I know you're not happy about it, but besides you, there was no better person to take the fall as. Victoria spoke. She reached out to touch Ethan's face, her own full of concern, and stood in front of him, speaking to me defiantly. The fact that you got out so quickly proves I was right. Even if you were really caught, it wouldn't have been a big deal. Sincere, you need to apologize to Ethan right now and pay his medical bills, and we'll let this go. Otherwise, don't blame me for what comes next. Looking at this despicable pair, I almost laughed in fury. Medical bills? He was lucky I didn't kill him. Where did they get the audacity to turn the tables on me and threaten me? What a joke. At that moment, I remembered the person Ethan hit. It seemed like they had barely been mentioned throughout this whole ordeal. The person Ethan hit, where are they now? How are they doing? At this, Victoria fell silent. I frowned and asked again. Victoria, I'm talking to you, the person Ethan hit. How are they now? Hearing my question, Victoria snorted coldly. What do you mean, the person Ethan hit? It was clearly you who hit them. How would I know how they are? I wasn't there. Her acting was impeccable, and she was extremely wary of me, afraid I might get some evidence that would land Ethan in jail. Hearing this, I turned to leave, having no desire to continue the conversation. I took out my phone and asked my assistant to find out which hospital the victim of the incident was in. My assistant was fast. In just 10 minutes, he sent me not only the hospital's name but also the person's life story. Does it hurt? Sincere has trained in Muay Thai. That's why it hurts so much. How could he do this? What did you ever do wrong? Just as I got the address and was about to go downstairs, I heard Victoria's anxious and pained voice comforting Ethan from behind me. I stopped and turned back. What do you want now? Seeing me, Victoria immediately blocked Ethan again and questioned me. Seeing her instinctive protectiveness, my anger surged. I restrained the urge to get physical and gritted my teeth. Victoria, let's get a divorce. You want to divorce me? Victoria seemed to have trouble understanding, her face full of shock as she stood up. Sincere, we've been married for 5 years. You want to divorce me over something like this? Ethan's face, however, showed a perfectly timed flicker of happiness. I ignored them both and went straight downstairs to have the butler take me to the hospital. Sir, you should wear this. The situation is tense right now. It's not like before. Before getting out of the car, Alfred handed me a face mask. I sighed and put it on, which allowed me to find the victim's room without incident. I knew from the blood on the car's hood that the person must have been hit hard, but seeing him lying there, barely breathing, in the intensive care unit, I felt a pang of pity. Even though I wasn't the one who hit him, it was my car. Logically and emotionally, I was inextricably linked to this incident. I left the ICU hallway and quietly went to the billing office to pay his fees. I had asked a nurse earlier and learned that his family was several days behind on hospital payments. I paid the full amount owed and added 2 more months' worth of fees. Sir, are you sure you want to pay for 2 months for bed 236? The nurse, likely having never seen someone pay so generously, looked up to confirm with me. Yes, bed 236. After I confirmed, I felt several pairs of eyes on me from behind. I didn't have time to worry about it. I just wanted to pay and leave quickly. But suddenly I felt my mask loosen as someone pulled it off. Sincere Clark, it really is you. I truly didn't expect the patient's family, who hadn't paid their bill in days, to show up to pay today and happen to be right behind me in line. Hearing bed 236% had already felt wrong, and now, with my mask off, their anger was uncontrollable. Sincere Clark. It's Sincere Clark. What right does he have to be at the hospital? At the family's shouts, I was quickly surrounded again. He was just paying the bill for 236. His conscience must be bothering him. What good is a guilty conscience? My father is in that state. Give me my father back. I quickly backed away, instinctively scanning my surroundings for the fastest escape route. Fortunately, the hospital security didn't want a fight to break out, so I was safe for the moment. Looking at the crowd, I suddenly felt that I had to clear my name, or I would be condemned wherever I went. I raised my voice. "Everyone, please be quiet. I came to pay the bill today. Not because I am responsible for hitting him. I will say it again. I did not hit him. This money is purely a humanitarian gesture." As I finished speaking, someone in the crowd spat on the floor. "You say it wasn't you, and we're supposed to believe you? Who believes that your wife posted an apology video online facing the family's skepticism?" I sighed helplessly and tried to clarify again. Unfortunately, no one believed my explanation. Halfway through, someone must have leaked the news, because Victoria arrived. She squeezed through the crowd and began apologizing to everyone. "I'm so sorry, everyone. I didn't keep a close eye on Sincere. He's currently under investigation. Please trust the official authorities." As she spoke, she grabbed my arm and pulled me through the crowd into a stairwell, her face a mask of frost as she questioned me. "Sincere, how long are you going to keep this up? No one believes you right now. Why are you still desperately trying to clear your name? Can't you, for my sake, just drop this matter?" I looked at her face and felt like I was looking at a stranger. "Victoria, you're having an affair with Ethan Miller, and you have the nerve to ask me that? I'll do whatever I want. Why should I confess to a crime I didn't commit? Who are you to tell me what to do? We're getting a divorce." Seeing my voice getting louder, Victoria, afraid I would cause more trouble, quickly tried to placate me. "It's all because of Ethan. I'm willing to distance myself from Ethan from now on, as long as you take the fall for him properly." I looked at her pleading face, fell silent for a moment, and then slowly nodded. Victoria was stunned, then a flash of ecstasy crossed her face. I paid her no mind, simply took out my phone and pressed play. "As long as you take the fall for him properly." Victoria's face stiffened, then turned deathly pale. Victoria's eyes widened, and she lunged forward to grab my phone, but I kicked her to the ground. "Get off me." I pushed open the stairwell door, walked to the middle of the payment hall, and began to call out to the crowd. "Where are the victim's family members who surrounded me just now? I'm right here if you have any questions. You can ask me now." The crowd looked at me as if I were a madman, but they slowly started to gather around. "Sincere, what are you doing? Can you please stop making a scene?" Victoria, enduring the pain, chased after me, grabbing my arm to pull me away. I violently shook her off. "Don't touch me." The next moment, I pressed the play button again, and the recording of my conversation with Victoria blared out at maximum volume. "Victoria, you're having an affair with Ethan Miller, and you have the nerve to ask me that? I'll do whatever I want. Why should I confess to a crime I didn't commit? Who are you to tell me what to do? We're getting a divorce. It's all because of Ethan. I'm willing to distance myself from Ethan from now on, as long as you take the fall for him properly." For a moment there was a collective gasp. Everyone's face was filled with astonishment. No, it's not like that. Victoria frantically denied the recording's authenticity. I simply handed the phone to the victim's family member, letting him confirm its authenticity and whether it had just been recorded. The family member looked at it for a long time, and under everyone's gaze he finally nodded. "It's true. It was recorded just now." The timestamp on the recording finally began to tip the scales in my favor. The crowd started to whisper among themselves. "What's going on? Is there more to this story? I don't think Sincere Clark looks like a bad person." Seeing this, Victoria panicked. After failing to snatch the phone from the victim's family, she began to try and mislead the crowd. "Everyone, please don't believe this useless rich kid. He synthesized the recording. He's trying to frame me." Her words caused the atmosphere to stagnate again, and the truth once again became murky. "Yeah, maybe he used some kind of technology. AI is so advanced now, you never know." I looked at their ignorant faces with a cold expression, wanting to scoff. "If you don't believe a rich kid, will you believe the authorities?" Just then, a commanding voice came from not far away. I turned my head and saw my father in a suit. He had people parting the crowd, and behind him was a uniformed official. The crowd was about to erupt. Someone recognized the uniformed man as the head of the city's police department. My father's bodyguards surrounded me. Then, the official patted my shoulder and turned to the crowd. After a police investigation, there was no biological evidence of Sincere Clark in the car. He is not connected to this hit-and-run incident. As soon as he said this, everyone was stunned. Victoria was completely dumbfounded. My father snorted coldly. Although you, woman, were smart enough to wipe the fingerprints and have him wear my son's clothes in places with security cameras, you've severely underestimated modern forensic techniques. Hearing this, Victoria's face grew paler. My father continued. Not only that, but there was also some DNA left in the car, proving that you and Ethan Miller had sexual relations in there at this point. What else do you have to say? I didn't sleep with Ethan, Dad. You have to believe me. Victoria immediately denied it. My father roared. Don't call me Dad, see for yourself. Alfred then produced a file folder. I leaned in and saw that it was filled with hotel records of Victoria and Ethan from the past 2 years, from well-known hotels all over the country. So Sincere Clark was set up by his own wife and her lover? Someone in the crowd pieced together the truth, even speculating that Victoria did all this to ruin my reputation, then smoothly divorce me and get a huge settlement. The police official at the side raised his hand to quiet the crowd's speculation. Miss Bellwether, given that you provided the car, you will also be held criminally responsible. Victoria stumbled back a few steps, then without hesitation she knelt before me, sobbing. Sincere, I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. It was too late to be sorry now. I didn't say a word, just let the police handcuff Victoria and lead her away. After learning she could be sentenced to many years in prison, Victoria panicked. To earn credit for meritorious service, she spilled everything in the police interrogation room like beans from a bamboo tube. It turned out that she initially hadn't expected Ethan to hit someone, she just wanted him to have some fun. When the accident happened, she felt she had no choice but to ask me to take the blame. Victoria's plan was for me to be stuck in jail. Then she would use the internet to build public pressure, force my family to compensate her, and finally divorce me, obtaining a huge settlement and half of my assets to run away with Ethan. The hotel records showed they had been in this illicit relationship for 1.5 years. She no longer loved me. Our marriage was already one in name only. To say I wasn't sad would be a lie. I stood to the side and smoked several cigarettes, truly unable to believe that the wife I had shared a bed with could be so ruthless as to harm me like this. My father patted my shoulder, but for once he didn't say much. The authorities released all the details of the incident immediately. After the truth came out, Victoria was relentlessly flamed by netizens online that night. We didn't want to delay any longer, so we took Victoria straight back to my house. When we opened the door, Ethan was still smiling. Vicky, how did it go? Did you make sure Sincere took the fall for good? At first, he only saw Victoria enter with a pale face. But when he saw the uniformed officers behind her, he was visibly flustered. What's going on? Why are the police here? Did you sell me out? He cursed at Victoria and tried to run, but the police immediately pinned him to the ground. Stay still, don't move, pinned to the floor. Ethan stared at Victoria with hatred. Victoria Bellwether. What is going on, Eth? You should just cooperate with the police. Seeing him, Victoria was heartbroken. She turned to me, her eyes filled with tears. Sincere, I'm begging you, for the sake of our many years of marriage, please be lenient with us. We were just momentarily foolish. I shouldn't have tried to harm you. It was all my fault. This has nothing to do with Eth. Meeting her gaze, I slowly smiled. The punishment is for the law to decide. It has nothing to do with me. Victoria's eyes widened slightly, and then she burst out in a rage. Sincere Clark, you're a heartless rich man. I regret it so much. Why didn't I plan in more detail to make sure you never got out? I hate you. I won't let you get away with this. Hearing this, Ethan turned his anger on Victoria. Victoria Bellwether, I told you we should run. Why didn't you agree? Talking about high risk, high reward. Now look, we're both caught, you wench. This is all your fault then." Ethan yelled out their entire plan. From his tirade, I finally understood everything. Ethan had planned to transfer all my assets while I was in jail, and then they would run away together. But Victoria wanted to wait until I was permanently locked up, then divorce me to get half of our family's assets before leaving. After all, transferring my assets was illegal, but the compensation and divorce settlement would be legitimate money. The two of them were truly a nest of vipers, exceedingly greedy and utterly foolish. I didn't think he would actually get out. How could he get out on the same day it was my fault, okay? Victoria apologized pitifully to Ethan. Enraged, Ethan suddenly broke free from the police and jumped out of the second-floor window. Victoria screamed, and everyone else froze. Ethan's escape attempt failed. In his panic, he didn't know the layout of my villa. The area below the second-floor window wasn't a lawn but marble tiles. He broke his leg on impact and then hit the back of his neck on the edge of a flower bed as he fell. When the police reached him, Ethan was lying motionless on the ground. Only faint groans of pain could be heard. Victoria cried out in agony, trying to rush over to see him, but was restrained by the police and escorted away. I watched as the police provided emergency treatment to Ethan, thinking to myself that I hoped he wouldn't die at my house. That would be too unlucky, and I'd have to move. Fortunately, Ethan didn't die, but the doctor said his condition was not optimistic. He needed surgery immediately and was at risk of total paralysis. Before the surgery, the first thing he did when he regained consciousness was to curse me and Victoria. "Sincere Clark, it's all because of you. I ended up like this. Because of you. You'll die a miserable death."
I honestly had no idea how he came to that conclusion.
He was the one squatting in my house, and he was the one who tried to escape by jumping when the police arrived. From beginning to end, it had nothing to do with me. "Victoria Bellwether, you hussy. If it weren't for you, I'd be rich and famous by now." Victoria lowered her eyes, her face etched with pain from his insults. I had nothing to say to a man on the verge of total paralysis. However, although Ethan was injured, he had luckily escaped legal punishment for the time being. On the way, Victoria complained to me endlessly. "Sincere, why did you have to be so ruthless even though I tried to harm you? I didn't succeed in the end." I found her incredibly annoying and didn't say a word. When Victoria saw that the car wasn't heading towards our home and that the police hadn't left, she finally became anxious and restless. When she was led behind iron bars, her attitude completely changed. "Why? I didn't harm anyone. Why are you locking me up? Sincere, I'm begging you, please give me another chance. Write me a letter of clemency, please. I don't want to go to jail," she cried as she spoke. "What good would my forgiveness do? The reason you're in here has nothing to do with me." I met her tear-filled eyes and scoffed. As soon as I finished speaking, the son of the hit-and-run victim walked in. His eyes blazed with hatred when he saw Victoria. "My father has passed away. You killed my father, Victoria Bellwether. My family and I will not grant you clemency. We want you to rot in jail." Victoria's eyes were filled with tears. She looked at us in astonishment, then broke down, crying desperately. "Sincere, isn't this something that can be compensated for? I remember you paid the medical bills. You paid tens of thousands that day." I shrugged and nodded directly. "I did pay, but as I said back then, that was a humanitarian payment." "What does it have to do with you?" Hearing this, Victoria finally fell into despair, collapsing helplessly onto the floor. What awaited her was the severe punishment of the law. I turned and left without looking back. With everything settled, my life returned to normal. Victoria was eventually sentenced to 8 or 9 years. A rough estimate suggested that with good behavior and parole, she would be out in 6 or 7 years. I never thought I would see Victoria Bellwether again. Ever since she was imprisoned, my small company's reputation had soared. Whether out of sympathy or admiration for how I handled the situation, the company's market value skyrocketed. Netizens jokingly called me the ex-husband and said I was a down-to-earth guy for having been good to such a wife for so many years. I just smiled it off and focused on my work. Initially, my father wasn't very optimistic about the small company I had founded myself, but after its performance improved, he was willing to invest. The business grew bigger and bigger, and my assets grew with it. A few years later, Ethan chose to end his own life in the hospital. The final conclusion was that he'd become weary of life due to his injuries. He had no parents and was originally a poor student. After being paralyzed, he had no one to care for him. Many parts of his body were festering horribly. Finally, unable to bear it, he bit his tongue and committed suicide. He didn't actually bite his tongue completely off. That method is not scientifically sound, but the blood flowed out and blocked his throat. The final cause of death was asphyxiation. The time I saw Victoria again, I had already inherited the family business from my father. She was on the side of the road, picking through trash. The old butler's son, James, had become the new butler. To prevent Victoria from seeking revenge, he had been monitoring her movements since her release. He discovered that Victoria had already lost her mind in prison, because she had traded a watermelon for a sesame seed by cheating, and because of her arrogant and domineering personality, she was bullied relentlessly in prison. After her release, she was unable to live independently and ended up on the streets, surviving by collecting trash. Seeing her gaunt, stooped figure picking up trash and plastic bottles, I showed no emotion and ordered the car to drive on. Sincere? Victoria, however, seemed to sense something. She suddenly looked up and saw me. Then she grinned, revealing a mouthful of yellowed teeth, and ran towards me with a smile. Sincere, is that you? Are you here to take me home? Are we getting married? Sincere, wait for me. Sincere, wait for me. It's me, Victoria Bellwether. The car didn't stop and I didn't look back. I heard the sound of a violent impact from behind. I frowned, and the butler reminded me in a timely manner. Sir, don't look back. There's been an accident. I closed my eyes, my expression unchanging. The past had nothing to do with me. I had a new life now. The end. After I landed a $10 billion deal, my wife of 6 years, a woman I'd married in a secret business arrangement, finally posted a photo of us together. She had agreed to a live-streamed honeymoon trip in front of the entire company. But when it was time to leave the next day, I saw her with her arm around her pretty boy assistant, the two of them getting cozy for the cameras. My dad racked up $1 million in gambling debt and is forcing me to go home and sell myself to pay it off, the assistant Ethan Jones said, sobbing. Miss Bell is so kind, bringing me on a trip like this. The employees below all clapped and cheered. Ethan is so young and capable. Why don't you just marry Miss Bell? You'd be set for life seeing this. I let out a cold laugh and stepped forward to take their picture. That's right, Ethan. You should marry the boss. You're handsome and talented. It wouldn't even be like you're marrying up. After the honeymoon live stream ended, my wife, Victoria Bell, said coldly, I only brought him along to discreetly give him some money for his debt. Why were you trying to set us up? Do you have any idea that he's so racked with guilt he's standing on the roof right now? You need to apologize to him in public right now and give him a promotion. Once he's feeling better, I'll make it up to you with a real honeymoon. Hearing this, I threw the divorce papers on the table. No need, just sign it. Victoria froze. She picked up the divorce papers, glanced at them, and laughed mockingly. There's nothing in here about how much you're getting from me. I thought you were planning to take a huge chunk of my money and run. She tossed the papers back on the table, shooting me a disdainful look. Are you an idiot, Sincere? She sneered. What will you have left without me? I don't want any assets. I'll walk away with nothing, I said coldly. At that, Victoria let out another strange laugh. Isn't that what you deserve? Everything you have at Riverside Corp today, I gave to you. Without me, you'd still be in some basement eating instant ramen. Hearing her say this without batting an eye, my jaw dropped. When Riverside Corp was just starting, it was a small team of 20 people in a basement. I was the one eating instant ramen and pickled vegetables in that basement every day, leading the team step by step. To capture the regional markets, I got my head bashed in with a pipe by some local thugs. The scar still aches whenever it rains. I was the one who painstakingly grew Riverside from a small startup to a $10 billion company, enduring countless hardships, but now she was taking all the credit. I stared at Victoria, my fists clenching tighter and tighter. The billion-dollar deal I had just closed a few days ago had secured the company's path for the next decade, but at the awards ceremony, she took all the credit, claiming it was her and Ethan's achievement. You put your arm around that kid in front of the whole company, and you expect me not to divorce you, I said harshly. Ethan fought his way out of a poor rural village to get to this company. Do you have any idea how hard his life has been? His father has $1 million gambling debt and is trying to force him to go home and become an escort to pay it off. Victoria glared at me. I was using this as an opportunity to slip him some cash so he wouldn't have to go back to that life. Can't you understand a simple human situation? He's so guilty he's standing on the ledge of the roof right now. Did you know that hearing this, I just wanted to laugh? That kid Ethan, with his soft hands and smooth skin, who spent money like water, how could anyone believe he came from a poor village? Besides, I had seen his resume before. There was no gambling addict father. It was obvious to any outsider that he was spinning a tale. Is he really that pathetic? I asked softly. Victoria gritted her teeth. Sincere, I never knew you were so cold-blooded it's windy up on that roof. If Ethan accidentally falls, you'd better turn yourself in and get ready for prison. She stared at me, her words dripping with venom. Cold-blooded? A bitter feeling swelled in my chest. Looking at the face I had shared a bed with for 6 years, I was suddenly struck by how terrifyingly unfamiliar she was. In her heart, I weighed less than a pretty boy who had been with the company for just 6 months. I'll say it one last time. You go and beg him to come down from that roof and apologize to him in public, she said fiercely. Once he's calmed down and settled, I'll do a global honeymoon live stream with you to announce our marriage. I trembled all over. I closed my eyes. I was supposed to wait. Again. Over the past 6 years, I had heard countless empty promises like this. When Riverside Corp made its first million, she said we'd celebrate when it hit 10 million. Now the company was public and worth well over 100 million, and she said we'd wait until it was a Fortune 500 company. Then it was after we were married for 10 years, and today she was still telling me to wait. I let out a heavy breath and said coldly, I'm not apologizing to him. Let's just sign the divorce papers now. Then I turned to leave. Behind me, Victoria stood stunned, then stomped her foot and screamed, Sincere Smith, you get back here as I reached the parking garage. A dark figure chased after me from the building. I turned around. It was Walter from finance at Riverside Corp, holding a stack of financial statements. Mr. Smith, this is last month's loss from your overseas project. It's $400,000. We need to deduct it from your account. I took the report, confused. Seeing the project name, I remembered. 3 months ago, my team and I had pulled 10 all-nighters to turn this failing overseas industrial park project around and make it profitable. But just as it was gaining momentum in its first profitable month, Victoria saw a jealous look from Ethan in a meeting and immediately made him the project director. Isn't Ethan in charge of this project now? The loss should be deducted from his salary. What does it have to do with me? I said softly. The project was making a huge profit when I was managing it. He takes over and loses this much money. Isn't it entirely his responsibility? I glanced at the financial statement and could see immediately that Ethan had spent a fortune on frivolous things like luxury tiles for the lobby and a fancy reception desk, creating a massive financial hole. These are Miss Bell's orders. The person in charge listed here is still you, Walter said, pointing to the top right corner. When I saw my name in the top right corner, I froze. I took all the monthly financial statements and flipped through them with trembling fingers. I discovered that my name had been put on the recent unprofitable months, while Ethan's name was on the first 2 profitable months. So he got the credit for all the profits, and I had to bear all the losses. You falsified these. I don't acknowledge them, and I'm not signing anything. I shoved the financial statements back into his arms and turned to leave. Sincere, this was a direct order from Ms. Bell. You should probably just bite the bullet and pay it for now, or you'll be fired seeing my reaction. Walter clutched the statements and continued to chase after me. Let her fire me. I've had enough of her petty games. I snatched the financial statements from his hand, tore them to shreds and threw them into the air. The white confetti rained down on Walter's head. As I walked out of the Riverside Corp building, the city lights twinkled around me. I returned home under the cover of darkness to a cold, empty house. I flipped on the lights and immediately noticed the disheveled state of the sofa. In the dim light, I saw the corner of a pair of black men's underwear sticking out from between the sofa cushions. Pinching my nose, I knelt down. Sure enough, under the sofa, I found a lace bra strap, carrying Victoria's familiar perfume. My whole body began to shake uncontrollably. And she had the nerve to say it was just for show, just an excuse to give him money. They had brought their affair into our home. Looking at the old photo of Victoria and me on the table, I felt a sharp pain in my heart. Just then, the door was thrown open. Victoria strode in, glaring at me. Sincere, did you dare to tear up the financial report? Do you have a death wish? I turned my head. The bloodshot veins in my eyes startled her. Her fingers curled slightly, but her face quickly contorted back into anger. She marched over and slammed a newly printed copy of the financial report down. Are you trying to deny it, Sincere? She said, pointing to the first 2 profitable months. This overseas industrial park you invested in was a huge risk from the start. Even though it made money, the foundation was shaky after Ethan took over. He worked very hard to salvage it for you. She said fiercely, if he hadn't stepped in to stop the bleeding, you would have lost millions, so what if we deduct a little money from you now? She spat. Hearing this, I could only manage a cold sneer. This overseas industrial park was a project I had personally revived, risking life and limb, and turned into a profitable venture. And now she was giving all the credit to Ethan and making me clean up his mess. You know perfectly well who's responsible for this $400,000 loss, I said quietly, staring at her coldly. I'm not taking the fall for your toy boy. Sincere Victoria glared at me. Do you think you're untouchable? I am the president of Riverside Corp now. Believe me, with one word, I can have you packing your things and begging on the street. A bitter smile formed on my lips. For 6 years I had single-handedly carried Riverside Corp out of the mud. But after Victoria brought in a large investment and became president, she hadn't given me a single share of stock in 5 years. I was still just a junior manager. Anyone else would have left long ago. If I hadn't truly loved Victoria, would I have endured it for so long? Victoria, you know how much I've sacrificed for Riverside Corp. I stared at her fiercely. And now you want to kick me out for a pretty boy? Do you think I even care about this pathetic manager title you gave me? At this, Victoria retorted harshly. Then get out. I'll just promote Ethan to replace you. He'll do a better job, I laughed, a mix of anger and disbelief. You still claim it was just to give him money for his debts? The two of you have been carrying on in our own home. Victoria's eyes widened. How dare you spread rumors? Who's been carrying on with him at home? I chuckled softly, unlocked my phone, and showed her the picture of the underwear on the sofa. The men's underwear and her bra strap under the bed were clearly visible. Seeing the photo, Victoria's face fell, her expression turning dark and sullen. I don't know how you photoshopped those, but you can get out and go to HR to resign right now. She threw the financial report at me. The next day, in the manager's section, I was packing my personal belongings into a box. My colleagues nearby saw this. Looks like Mr. Smith is getting a big promotion. Ms. Bell must be moving him to headquarters. Their faces were filled with envy. I heard Ms. Bell also gave him that row of shops downstairs. She really treats him well. When will we ever be so lucky as to catch the eye of the female president? I pretended not to hear their chatter, quickening my pace to leave, a dull ache in my heart. But just as I pushed the door open, I collided with Ethan, who was just entering. He looked at me with feigned surprise and said loudly, "Mr. Smith, you're still here? Miss Bell told me to take over your duties at 9. I thought you would have moved out by now." He looked at me, deliberately raising his voice for everyone around to hear. I tried to squeeze past him with my box, but he continued to block the doorway. Hearing this, the surrounding colleagues began to whisper among themselves. "So Mr. Smith was fired. Ethan is getting promoted. Could he be the one Miss Bell is interested in?" Their whispers grew louder. My face darkened. I put the box down on a desk. "Are you paralyzed? Can't you move?" I looked at him and said coldly. Ethan was at a loss for words. He then pretended to stumble, and a stack of photos he was holding scattered across the floor. I glanced down. They were glamour shots of him and Victoria. The two of them, dressed in bikinis, were lying on a beach, kissing passionately. "Oh no, Miss Bell asked me to get these developed secretly, just for us to enjoy privately," he said as he bent down to pick them up. "But I accidentally dropped them. Sincere, I bet you've never seen this wild side of Miss Bell, have you?" he said, his tone dripping with insinuation. The photos became more and more explicit, some even taken in their bedroom at home, the two of them nearly naked and intertwined. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed Ethan by the collar and threw him. His forehead hit the corner of a desk, and he cried out as blood started to flow. I ignored him, picked up my box, and walked out. But as I reached the hallway, Victoria stormed towards me. "Sincere, are you crazy? How dare you hit Ethan? You go back and apologize to him right now or you'll pay him $500,000. I looked at her coldly. "Are you going to move, or do I have to make you?" "What? You want to hit me now too?" Victoria was shocked, staring at me fiercely. "Do you think you own this company? You can just assault someone and walk away?" She pulled off the diamond ring I had given her and held it out the window, 100 meters above the ground. "You go back and apologize to him right now or I'll throw this wedding ring you gave me," looking at the brilliant blue diamond ring. My heart ached, but my face remained impassive. That ring was worth $1 million. It was my mother's heirloom, which I had placed on Victoria's finger on our wedding night. And now she was using it to threaten me? Seeing the smug, controlling look on her face, I walked over and snatched the ring from her hand. Then I opened the window and threw it out with all my might. From 100 meters up, the ring made no sound as it fell. It was surely shattered. Victoria was stunned, speechless. "I should never have given you this ring in the first place," I said softly. Then, amidst the whispers of the entire company, I walked straight downstairs. I took the divorce papers and went to the courthouse by myself. 5 days earlier, after I had thrown the papers on the table, Victoria had signed them. But on her way to the courthouse with the documents, she received a call from Ethan. On the phone, he was crying about his father's gambling debts, and she immediately turned around to comfort him. Our divorce process was completely forgotten, but now the courthouse had processed everything. The moment I saw my marital status with Victoria officially dissolved, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Our marriage had always been a pure business arrangement, built on interests, devoid of any real emotion. I had thought that through the daily grind of life we might be able to cultivate some feelings. Now I saw I had been thinking too much all along. As I drove up to the Bell family mansion, I could faintly hear voices from inside. "Vicky, I think you've been too soft on him. How dare he throw your ring away and hitting Ethan in front of the whole company? Why didn't you call the police and have him arrested?" Arthur Bell said harshly. "He only got that manager position by latching onto you, and now he thinks he's a big shot. He's just jealous that Ethan is more capable and better liked," Victoria said softly. "That's why he lashed out with such malice. It's my fault. I was blind to let you marry him in the first place," Victoria's mother, Eleanor, added venomously. Through the window I could see that Eleanor was still wearing the jade bracelet I had given her. Listening to their conversation, a chill ran down my spine. Over the past 6 months, I had visited Victoria's parents more often than she had. When Eleanor had hurt her leg, while Victoria was at the office flirting with Ethan, I was the one who went to the hospital 3 times a day to bring her pork rib soup and apply her medication. For Arthur's 70th birthday, I personally delivered a set of rosewood furniture. They had always praised me to my face, but I never imagined this is what they said about me in private.
Mr. and Mrs. Bell, it's all my fault.
I was too dedicated to the company's business, and I got too close to Vicky, which caused him to misunderstand. Ethan's voice suddenly chimed in, tinged with a hint of grievance. You don't have to be so hard on Sincere. It has nothing to do with you, boy, Victoria continued. Sincere is just small-minded. He sees filth in everything. It's not your fault, son. We know you were just helping Vicky with work, Arthur said softly, looking Ethan up and down. Honey, look at this boy. He's handsome, good at his job. He seems like a good match for our Vicky, doesn't he? Eleanor also pulled Ethan closer, examining him with approval. I couldn't take it anymore. I threw the door open and walked in. The four of them were visibly startled. Eleanor subconsciously covered her mouth and looked down, a guilty expression on her face. Victoria was the first to recover. She turned and glared at me. Sincere, you really are a villain, eavesdropping outside our door, she said fiercely. I didn't say a word. I coldly tossed the divorce decree onto the table and looked at the other three. Perfect timing. Victoria and I are divorced now. You two can go get married. Seeing the divorce decree, Eleanor's face paled in shock. When did you two get divorced? Why didn't I know? Eleanor turned to look at Victoria. Victoria just stared at me, her face grim. Sincere, you went and filed for that divorce by yourself. It doesn't count. I had to laugh at that. Didn't we agree to get a divorce? You're the one who left halfway through to go comfort your toy boy. Victoria's face changed. Beside her, Ethan's face turned a mixture of green and white. Just then, Arthur spoke up in a low voice. Sincere, who gave you the right to talk to my daughter like that? Ethan only got close to her because he was busy with company business. He looked at me. Divorce is a huge matter. You didn't even discuss it with us and just went ahead on a whim? Eleanor also chimed in. That's right, Sincere. You didn't discuss such a big thing with us. I see you never really respected us. She took off the jade bracelet I had given her. And you dare to slander my daughter like this? I truly regret not seeing your true colors when you first came to our door. I sneered at her words. Why don't you ask your daughter if she gave a damn about our marriage when she was live streaming her honeymoon with her toy? Boy, I said coldly, this divorce is final. Will you ever stop, Sincere? Victoria retorted fiercely. I was just trying to help Ethan because his family is poor, to give him some money to pay off debts. Was it to pay his debts, or to keep him as your lover? Do I need to show everyone the pictures? I said softly, a cold smile on my lips. What pictures? Eleanor's expression changed and she turned to look at Victoria. Victoria's face twisted and she gritted her teeth. You're still trying to use those fake pictures you photoshopped to frame us? She spat, but by now her father could clearly see she was losing her nerve, her expression giving her away. At that moment, Ethan stepped forward. Maybe it's because sometimes I was helping Mrs. Bell with work until very late and we got a bit close. Mr. Smith, you should calm down. It's all a misunderstanding, he said, reaching out to pat my shoulder. I stood motionless, my expression cold. But the moment his hand touched my shoulder, he abruptly stumbled backward and fell to the floor. His right hand slammed into the corner of the table, and dark blood began to ooze out. Mr. Smith, you can't just push me because you're suspicious of us, he cried out in pain. With my hand like this, how am I supposed to help Miss Bell manage the company? Seeing this, Victoria rushed forward to cradle his hand, dabbing at the wound with concern. Then she turned and glared at me with pure hatred. Sincere, you psycho, take your anger out on me. What kind of man bullies Ethan? How dare you assault someone in our home? Boy, are you okay? Eleanor also rushed over, applying an ice pack to Ethan's hand. Arthur now turned and stared at me menacingly. Sincere, if you don't leave now, I'm calling the police daring to assault someone here. Seeing Ethan on the floor, clutching his bleeding hand, I just felt disgusted. I never thought this pretty boy could be so venomous, willing to injure himself just to frame me. Looking at Victoria's cold, hateful face, I felt as if I had fallen into an icy abyss. I silently turned, pushed the door open, and walked out into the night. Across the street, the lights of countless homes twinkled. I turned back, looking at the warm yellow light glowing from the Bell family mansion, and felt a terrifying sense of alienation. Perhaps this family had never accepted me, and there would never be a place for me here. I turned away, my body numb. I remembered the day 4 years ago when Victoria secured funding for Riverside Corp. She came to my basement apartment with a bouquet of flowers, presenting them to me under the dim yellow light. In that moment, I thought all my exhaustion could finally be released. Even though our marriage was for business, she would occasionally surprise me with candlelit dinners at lakeside restaurants or make me a bowl of noodles, late at night when I came home from work, warming my stomach. During those difficult days, I held on because of those small moments. I thought I had found my soulmate, and I had to fight to give her happiness. Sincere, when the company's market value hits $10 billion, we'll have a proper honeymoon, live-streamed for the whole company to witness, she had said, looking at me. I worked even harder, all for that day. But as I waited, the projects I secured were handed over to Ethan on a silver platter. I watched as she moved that pretty boy into her office, the two of them laughing and playing inside. Finally, she announced that she was going on a honeymoon with him, live-streaming it for the whole company to see, a testament to their love. It turned out she did want to show off her love in a live stream, just not with me. Without realizing it, I had walked to the Riverside Corp building. I closed my eyes. Since she had been so ruthless, it was time for me to go my own way. I took out my phone and dialed Sam's number at the Overseas Industrial Park. "Sincere, what's up? Just say the word." The moment Victoria gave the project director position to Ethan and began to sideline me, I knew something was wrong. So, I had started moving some of the company's core assets overseas, using my own connections and resources. "Get the old guard together. We're starting from scratch," I said softly. "Are you scared?" "Scared of what?" "As long as we're with you, Sincere, we wouldn't be afraid even if we ended up begging on the streets," Sam said. On the other end of the line, I could hear the cheers of my old buddies, all declaring their loyalty. A warm feeling spread through my chest. At the Overseas Industrial Park, the moment I walked in, Sam threw his arms around me, his joy overflowing. I turned around. The entire original startup team, the ones who had been with me in the basement, were there. The old-timers looked much more weathered now. After Victoria became president, she had gradually marginalized these loyal confidants of mine, and they were full of resentment. "Sincere, are we really going out on our own?" Sam asked quietly. "I've had it with that Bell woman for a long time. All the people she promotes are just pretty boy freeloaders, Sincere. The bros are all with you," the other members of the old guard chimed in. "We'll definitely beat that woman." Looking at their loyal faces, I felt my confidence slowly returning. With these old employees by my side, I knew I could succeed. The newly established Ironclad Industries was founded in a small section of an overseas tech park. It was the same old team that had emerged from the basement years ago. Using the contacts and orders I had secured, we quickly established a mature industrial chain, and then began to develop new products. In a basement at 3 a.m, the moment we saw the first sheet of the cutting-edge membrane produced, we all erupted in cheers. This time, Sam and the old guard had used all their hidden-away expertise. The membrane technology 3 quickly gained traction, and sales soared. As we continued to work feverishly in the basement, refining our technology, a news report appeared on the TV. "Sincere, look, it's that shameless pair," Sam said. I looked at the screen. In a preview for the 10th annual Top 100 Entrepreneur Summit, Victoria had her arm around Ethan as they were interviewed by the media. "Our membrane technology, too, has captured over 30% of the market and is about to dominate," they said, their eyes gleaming. Seeing the matching rings on their fingers, I felt a sharp sting in my heart. "Don't worry, we've been invited to the summit, too. Let's get an interview and wipe the smiles off their faces," Sam said angrily. "No need. We'll just keep our heads down and focus on R&D, I said softly. Our cutting-edge membrane 3 is already leagues ahead of them. We'll let our results do the talking. I called the guys over to continue our research. 2 days later at dawn, when Sam saw the first batch of perfect ion exchange membrane 3, we all threw our arms in the air and cheered. This flawless, top-quality membrane 3 instantly conquered the market, with sales shooting to number 1. Fast forward to the top 100 summit. As Sam and I walked in, I immediately spotted Victoria and Ethan holding hands. She in a long gown, he in a suit. They looked every bit the successful power couple. Well, Sincere. What are you doing here? Victoria said, a look of surprise on her face when she saw me. Don't tell me you're working as a waiter here? I looked at her, wanting to laugh coldly. Sam, beside me, was about to retort, but I held him back. Seeing my silence, the contempt on Victoria's face deepened. Ethan, next to her, also looked at me with disdain, though he still feigned kindness. Sincere, you did contribute to the company in the past. Take my advice and leave this place. He glanced around. The summit will start soon, and all your old subordinates will be here. They've all become executives now. They'll laugh at you, he said softly. Victoria moved closer and looped her arm through his. Just then, the host on stage began the introductions. Please welcome the President and Vice President of Riverside Corp., Ms. Victoria Bell, and Mr. Ethan Jones. The membrane technology, 2, developed by Mr. Ethan Jones, has captured 30% of the market. The hall erupted in thunderous applause. Hearing this introduction, Victoria shot me a disdainful glance. She then prepared to walk past me and onto the stage. But I stood my ground. Sincere, what are you still doing here? You're blocking our way to the stage. A faint smile appeared on my face. Sorry, I'm also waiting to go on stage next. You? Are you kidding me? Victoria scoffed. But in the next second, she froze. The spotlights of the entire summit suddenly focused on me. And now, let's welcome this year's most outstanding entrepreneur, the founder of Ironclad Industries, Mr. Sincere Smith. Victoria and Ethan both stood frozen in place, staring at me. I paid them no further attention, straightened my tie, and walked onto the stage. The host continued in a loud voice. The cutting-edge membrane technology 3 developed by his team has captured over 60% of the market. Amidst the roaring applause, I looked down at Victoria in the audience, my expression calm. She silently lowered her head, saying nothing. Beside her, Ethan's gaze became uneasy. My eyes swept past Victoria as I began my presentation on Membrane Technology 3. Ion Exchange Membrane 3 is not my achievement alone, but that of our team, I said softly, bowing and inviting Sam and the old guard onto the stage. Seeing this gesture, the audience murmured in appreciation. Then, standing in the center of my team, I continued my presentation. The entire demonstration lasted 20 minutes. The hall was completely silent, everyone captivated by the revolutionary technology. The technical details I presented, the future potential, the commercial value, it left all the entrepreneurs stunned. When I finished, there were 2 seconds of silence, followed by an earth-shattering explosion of applause. People in the audience started shouting, "Mr. Smith, with technology like that, why do you only have 60% of the market? You should have 100%. Which companies stole the other 30%? Hearing this, both Victoria and Ethan lowered their heads. Compared to the technology I had just showcased, their Riverside Corp's membrane technology too looked like child's play. Wait a minute. I remember another company was also launching a membrane technology. Which group was it? Riverside Corp, they're right here at this point. A reporter couldn't hold back any longer and shoved a microphone in Ethan's face. Mr. Jones, after seeing Mr. Smith's Membrane Technology 3, what are your thoughts? The level of technology they've demonstrated completely eclipses your proposed membrane technology. 2. Do you intend to continue competing? Someone in the audience snorted, and disdainful glances were cast in their direction. Faced with this pointed question, Ethan's face turned beet red, and he was speechless. Beside him, Victoria also hung her head, wishing the ground would swallow her whole. Finally, Ethan was forced to speak, stammering, "Actually, membrane technology 2 wasn't my idea. The person who first proposed it was Miss Bell." Victoria froze, turning to stare at Ethan in disbelief. "You useless thing, how could you say that?" she shrieked. "I'm the one who promoted you to vice president, and this is how you repay me, by framing me?" She lunged at him, grabbing his suit and ripping it, exposing the white lining underneath. "I'll teach you to parade around in a fancy suit, take it off." Ethan stumbled under her attack, his face flushed with shame. Many people took the opportunity to pull out their phones and capture the humiliating scene of the newlywed couple. Their meltdown at the Top 100 Entrepreneurs Summit was broadcast for all to see, leaving them utterly and socially ruined. On stage, my face was calm. I led my team in a bow to the audience and said softly, "Ironclad Industries has more high-tech offerings beyond membrane technology 3. We welcome your investment." At these words, all the entrepreneurs in the audience rushed forward, beginning to negotiate with my old team members. Sam's face lit up with excitement. This was the start of our company's rise. Outside the summit venue, Sam held the car door open for me. Just as I was about to get in, someone grabbed my sleeve. I turned around. It was Victoria. Tears were streaming down her face as she clung to my clothes. Sincere, I was wrong. Her eyes were red and swollen. "I was deceived by that liar, Ethan. I shouldn't have been so angry with you. The bubble for his hyped-up membrane technology 2 is about to burst. Riverside Corp has invested everything in it. We're going to go bankrupt," she pleaded. "Only you can save us. Please come back, I'll give you the president's seat." I coldly shook off her hand and got into the car. "The president's seat at Riverside? I don't think I'm worthy." Hearing my sarcastic remark, she started crying again. "I was wrong, Sincere. Please come back." I turned my head and looked at her with a stern expression. "Victoria, you should know. It's too late now." The car window slowly rolled up. Seeing this, she began to pound on the window desperately. "I'll never make you angry again, Sincere. Can we get remarried? Let's go right now. We can do a live stream in front of the whole company. Let everyone witness our honeymoon." The car slowly pulled away. I watched her coldly. "I don't need that anymore. You should go." Hearing my words, she collapsed onto the ground. Watching my car drive away, she let out long, heaving sobs. 2 months later, I heard that Riverside Corp's investments had failed. Its capital chain had broken, and all its accounts were frozen. The membrane technology, too, they had boasted about, vanished from the market overnight. Victoria and Ethan, saddled with billions in debt, were sued and sent to prison. Not long after, Ethan, unable to bear the humiliation, took his own life in jail. Victoria's parents exhausted their entire fortune but still couldn't pay off the debts. They had to sell their mansion and now live in hiding, working odd jobs under the table. For the rest of their lives, they would likely live under the shadow of debt. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. I calmly turned the page on that news story, picked up the tea on my desk, and took a sip. Outside the window, the autumn leaves were falling. The first ray of late autumn sunlight shone through the glass, warming me. Since Riverside Corp's bankruptcy and exit from the market, our cutting-edge membrane technology 3 had taken over. After a round of angel investment, Ironclad Industries was set to go public next month. A gentle breeze brushed against my face. I closed my eyes. The business empire of the future, I thought, was just beginning to unfold.